welcome to On the Couch with Katie, the space where we talk about well-being in a way that is real, relatable and just a little bit cozy. As I said, my name is Katie and in each episode we're going to be talking about a different topic related to psychology, well-being or mental health, so that we can encourage more conversation about these topics, improve accessibility and reduce stigma. I'm particularly interested in the topics myself, and I would love for a world where we all feel comfortable opening up and in order to improve quality of life for all. In today's episode, we're going to be diving deep into the topic of burnout. Now, burnout might be something that you are already familiar with, or perhaps you've heard the word tossed around and not quite sure what it is. In this episode, we're going to be trying to understand, identify and overcome burnout by exploring what it really means, how it's characterised and how we can overcome it in order to better look after our mental health in the long run. I first became familiar with the term burnout during my time at university. Now, I've always been the sort of person to completely overfill my plate, just because I had lots of hobbies alongside a lot of work to do. But because I was enjoying myself so much, it meant that I was unable to say no to things, and it meant that I ended up struggling to sleep, and by the end of term my social battery was completely drained and overall my mood was completely depleted. I wasn't really sure how I was feeling. It felt like a complete drop of adrenaline. And then I discovered the word burnout, and I thought it perfectly described how I was feeling. Through further conversation with friends and family, I realised that this is quite common and I'm not the only one to have experienced this. So I thought we'd look into it a little bit further and talk about what it really means. So, what is the official definition? Burnout is a state of emotional, physical and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. It can be characterised by feelings of energy depletion, increased mental distance from one's job and reduced professional efficiency. The World Health Organization recognises burnout as a syndrome resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. I think it overall highlights a relationship to workplace and job and career-oriented stress, but actually burnout can occur after any type of stress. It could be caring for a loved one who is unwell, grief, or even moving house. Whatever has been really stressful in your life, often you find it easy to push through due to the adrenaline of the stress of the moment, and then afterwards all those feelings hit you at once. For example, have you ever found that you've had a really busy period of work, school, whatever the scenario, and then you've gone on holiday and felt awful? You thought the holiday was going to perk you up and be the reward that you've been looking for, but actually you ended up feeling worse than you did before. This is actually an example of something similar to burnout called the letdown effect, where as your body relaxes into something, you actually start to experience more negative emotions. And this is another example of burnout. We talked a little bit there about causes of burnout, but what else can cause burnout? First of all, feeling a lack of control over work within professional settings, unclear job expectations and dysfunctional workplace dynamics can be significant contributions that we forget about, as well as, of course, high workload, long hours and insufficient reward. So feeling as though you're working without gaining any recognition. And of course, working long days without having any time to rest and recuperate. I often find that I feel most burnout when I've had a long day at work or a long day of rehearsing, for example. I might then come home and go straight to bed. Now, while sleep is really important, it means that I haven't had that time in an evening to relax and really give back. Reduced rest as well as reduced sleep can really affect feelings of burnout. There's also personal factors that can make you more vulnerable to experiencing burnout. This could be increased tendencies for perfectionism, as well as a lack of social support around you. These can make you more susceptible to feelings of burnout. So if either of these things are things that you might resonate with, then perhaps we can look into it before burnout takes hold. So, how can we recognise that we're feeling burnt out? I think as human beings in a hustle culture like the society we live in today, it can be easy to think that we're not burnt out. We could be running on 100 miles an hour and be telling everyone around us that we're absolutely fine. So let's discuss about what all the different signs and symptoms could be that perhaps you are experiencing burnout or about to head in that direction. We're going to split these signs and symptoms into 3 categories. First of all, emotional and behavioural symptoms, then physical symptoms and cognitive symptoms. Starting off with emotional behavioural symptoms, let's start off by exploring the emotional and behavioural symptoms. So, first of all, you may start to notice more cynical feelings and negativity towards your job. Perhaps you're feeling less motivated to get up and go in the morning. Maybe you're feeling actually decreased satisfaction. You feel like you're getting less out of the work that you're putting in, and therefore a decreased feeling of accomplishment. Feeling as though maybe you're not providing as much to your job or to the workplace as a whole. This might go hand in hand with increased irritability and mood swings, feeling lower after a long day of work, perhaps feeling more anxious and stressed when it comes to completing tasks, therefore affecting potentially the relationships on a professional basis around you. In terms of physical symptoms, you might find that you're actually experiencing more headaches or even gastrointestinal issues. They say that your psychological symptoms are very linked to your gut. You might be experiencing more stomach aches or stomach upset, for example. You might find that you're feeling more tired even after a better night's sleep. You might also find, however, that your sleep is being disturbed and you're getting less hours each night, or even less consistent deep sleep. You also might find that your immune system is weakened and you might be experiencing more colds or flus, just more susceptible to the bugs that are all around you. As I mentioned earlier, the letdown effect, it always feels as though we're more likely to get a cold at Christmas or on a holiday. And that can be really frustrating, but that's often due to the fact that stress has weakened our immune system over time. And then finally, our cognitive symptoms. So these are our thought processes, our thinking patterns, and they can often go hand in hand with our emotional and behavioural symptoms. This can first of all affect our ability to concentrate, make decisions and problem solve, which could make our work less productive and less efficient. It can also mean that we have more memory problems due to the fatigue and overall decreased performance. If we think further about thought processes and thought patterns, we might also find that we've got more negative thought processes towards ourselves or the people around us, perhaps thinking that we're not good enough, being more self-critical, and that we're more critical about the work output that we are producing, or also about our own abilities. So overall, these things can feel overwhelming and feel like a lot to take on, and often when they hit us all at once, we can often worry about why we're feeling the way that we do. But burnout isn't permanent, we can fix it, and once we've recognised it, that is the first step. So how can we go from recognising that we might be burnt out or reaching the point of burnout, and what can we do to look after ourselves in the here and now and in the future when we start to notice these signs creeping in? First of all, perhaps an obvious one, but maybe the hardest one to actually incorporate, is setting boundaries. This can be done by setting clear work hours and sticking to them. So for example, if you are maybe expected to come in on a work day 9 to 5, but you still find yourself coming home and spending hours continuing the work that you didn't finish, and therefore going to bed, feeling stressed and having no time to rest. This, although might make you feel like you're completing things more, might actually be increasing your susceptibility to burnout. Perhaps saying that you will go home at 5 and leave all your work at the office might be a healthier way of dealing with things. If that's not possible, perhaps learning to just say no to additional tasks may overwhelm us. People pleasers are also more susceptible to burnout due to the fact that they feel as though they must complete additional tasks asked of them by their bosses, by their colleagues, in order to not let them down. Sometimes establishing boundaries within a workplace can actually allow us to be more efficient and therefore reduce the tax that it has on ourselves and reduce burnout in the long run. Furthermore, communicating your limits to colleagues and supervisors. Sometimes you might have to be the first person to say that this is too much, or I don't feel as though I can do this, so that other people in the workplace feel comfortable doing so, and you therefore have a healthier working environment. You also should prioritise self-care. You could engage in regular physical activity to reduce stress. This could be going to the gym or for a run, or perhaps even just going for a mindful walk after work. Maintaining a balanced diet and staying hydrated is important, as well as making sure to catch up on those hours of sleep that you feel you may have been missing. Staying hydrated is really, really important, because did you know that dehydration can actually increase cortisol levels in your blood? Now, cortisol is a stress hormone, and by drinking more water, we can actually dilute the concentration of it in our bloodstream. Water and overall hydration can improve so many things to do with our health, but by improving our stress levels, this can reduce levels of burnout too. And overall, I can't reiterate it enough, as I've just said, you should have as much sleep as possible. Obviously, everyone is different, but the World Health Organization does recommend between 7 and 9 hours of rest for an adult. So making sure that you are making the most out of your sleep time and also your rest time when you are no longer at work, spending time with family and friends, or even just in front of the television. Furthermore, if you feel that burnout is becoming a consistent problem or really affecting your life, perhaps increased feelings of depression or anxiety or overall disturbances in your mental health, then seek support. Start off by talking to a trusted friend, family member, or maybe seek further professional support through a therapist or your healthcare professional such as a GP. You can join support groups or online communities, or even communicate this with your workplace. You can also utilise employee assistance programs if possible, or if available to you. It might be that your organisation has access to specific work support and well-being support, so make sure you're making the most out of them while you can. Furthermore, talking about self-care, that's not just about eating well, sleeping well and drinking more water. It's also to do with practicing mindfulness and relaxation. Incorporating mindfulness techniques like meditation or deep breathing exercises can help reduce stress throughout the day. Here's one you can practice. Perhaps when you boil the kettle to make your afternoon brew, you can breathe in for 8, hold for 4 and release for 8. Just while the kettle brews. It doesn't have to take too much time out of your day, but it means you've taken stock, taken a break, and you're able to work more efficiently as the afternoon continues. You should also engage in more activities that promote relaxation, such as yoga or journaling, reading a book, or whatever you find relaxing for you. And furthermore, make sure that you put more energy into the things that you love that aren't related to your work. This could be hobbies or other interests. Go to the cinema, watch a new film, pick up a musical instrument, something that's completely unrelated to the things that you do on a daily basis. And finally, it's important to reassess your workload and your expectations within yourself. As mentioned earlier, you can communicate your limits to colleagues and supervisors, but you should also discuss workload adjustments with your supervisor. If you find that it's becoming too much, then you might not be producing the best work possible because you're feeling overwhelmed and consistently burnt out. You can also set realistic goals and expectations for yourself. Often our worst critic is ourselves. Often the pressures that we put on ourselves make us feel like we should be doing a lot more, but perhaps you're already doing enough. Furthermore, you can also remember the importance of delegation. Delegating tasks when things come too much. This could be within the workplace, asking a colleague to help you out with a job that you're struggling or feels like it's overburdening your plate. But also perhaps asking a trusted friend or family member to help grab something from the shop for you, or maybe make you a cup of tea when you're absolutely overwhelmed with work. Whatever that might be. So there you have it. There's a quick exploration into the topic of burnout. Hopefully you now know how to identify it, understand it and overcome it. Perhaps you've resonated and identified some of these emotions and behaviours within yourself, and you know how to improve on that in the future. Our intentions with On the Couch with Katie is to promote further conversation about well-being. Perhaps you've resonated with this episode or have noticed some of the themes in relation to a loved one. Whatever the case may be, hopefully it will allow you to feel comfortable to continue the conversation yourself and seek support if necessary. Remember, burnout is a common experience and we all experience it at some point in our lives, and there's absolutely no shame in seeking support, whether that is with a loved one or with a whether it is with a trusted friend or family member or with a professional. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen, and we'll be back very soon with a brand new episode all about a new wellbeing topic. Bye bye!